mandate or whether it's a very well understood concept that, and that's what everybody's been saying about Netanyahu for quite some time. That's why I brought that in. I hate to spend too much time trying to defend that thought, but I was just doing that because of Ron. But back to the idea that create this sense of, martial law and this kind of sense of that, it allows, especially in American democracy situation, guys, to usurp. That's what the attempt is. Again, back to the governorship. So, but yeah, as it relates to the situation, it's like, well, I have to do this because I've been authorized, mandated to be the leader. But what's crazy, I'll pass the mic on this, what's crazy about what Trump is doing, and everybody's calling him on it, Congress, and a lot of people are like, bro, you ran. Now, immigration, that's one thing. You definitely, okay, cool, you can make that argument. I got to come in, clean it all up, get rid of everybody that's illegal, no problem in that sense. But I'm the non-war president. You're in war with Russia, Ukraine, because I wasn't on my watch. I can come in day one, stop it. This idea of, no, but we're not going to fund more money to Israel, and no, Americans don't with that, or even funding or going into another war as American troops. American, no longer, well, what's being on the table for the next 2 weeks as I pass the mic back to Gemini and the rest of the room, crisis. What's now on the table is the idea that no, America directly, because there's no other people on the planet that have this B-1 bomber and have to use it over and over and over to accomplish, Fordo? Accomplish the annihilation of that nuclear facility.
Just to be clear real quick before y'all continue, I just want to be clear about this. There was no law against term limits before, I think, like 50 or 51. When Truman got in, it was a tradition. It was a tradition set by George Washington for presidents to leave, and so there's not to be like an imperial presidency and whatnot. And so that's just something that presidents did. Nothing was preventing anybody from running for a third term. Roosevelt was kind of like his first terms were about the Great Depression. People enjoyed the way he handled that. He kind of built the welfare state, and everybody loved that. And his second 2 terms were about World War II, and the way he handled that, and the way he air quotes saved us from fascism and this and that. But after that, we got into gear, and I think it's the 20-something amendment. That's one of the most recent amendments was term limits. So that's why we have term limits, and that's why if Trump tried anything, there's nothing in our law that says if you're a president and there's some heavy shit going on, you can run again. So that's just blatantly an illegal move for him to try to run for a third term.
Ron, can you do me a favor? Can you pronounce the word that I put in the chat for us? If you're still there, Ron.
I'm looking for it.
Okay, what does that mean?
Can you say that again, please?
Milkamet Habakara.
I would have butchered that. I read some sort of way.
To your understanding, what does that mean?
The War of Baccarat?
No. It means, hold on, Mark, I'm about to put it back again just so you can make sure you're saying you're reading the word that I'm referring to. It's this word. Okay. The word means to be in opposition. It's the devil's advocate. Now, I'm going to extrapolate this from that phrase to be the devil.
Okay.
Right. So it's to be the devil's advocate. This is the way that Israel runs their government. That when they all vote on some shit, if everybody's in agreement, at least one person has to actually disagree with them and give the reason why.
Wait, where did you get that this is the way the Israeli government works?
Where did you get that definition? What's going on? What language?
It's actually
it's
right
from
there.
Hebrew, but I'm trying to understand where he gets this idea from.
I'm about to give it to you. Because it literally means
Department of Control.
It's their version of
it means arguing against. You know what I mean? So the thing is they require somebody to argue against everybody's a unanimous decision of. Now, there's something else that we've all heard of, something called the Samson plan. Essentially, this is where the idea of Israel not declaring themselves to be a nuclear state, even though everybody knows they're a nuclear state, comes into play. Because if they ever felt like they were at jeopardy to that degree, they would just be able to go full on, you know what I mean, and go Wolverine with everybody. You know what I mean? But this is what we're looking at. I think that based off of reading Trump's book, I think that they just want to push us to the brink to bring us into alignment. They want the entire world to feel like as if World War III is imminent. Look at what y'all been seeing. Like, I work in tech. You know how many briefings we've gotten? As a matter of fact, yesterday I got a briefing about Google being breached. By the way, Google was breached this past weekend. Make sure you change your password.
It wasn't just Google. It was Google, Meta, and a whole. But it's the largest documented breach.
Yeah.
Password.
So make sure you change your password.
Change your password and pick something new that you haven't used before too.
Right, and I would suggest to you that you use quotes, movie quotes, television quotes, whatever quote, and just substitute certain letters for characters and numbers. But that's neither here nor there.
And if you want to feel super safe, send me your passwords. I'll save them for you. You good.
Yo, Gemini, you'll be. But yeah, like the idea
You
is
use Super Saiyan as a password, it'll make the other computer blow up.
the idea is that if I can't have it, you can't have it either. And sweet, to the point you were making earlier, when you weren't sure how I was going to tie this all together, this is how I'm tying it all together. Because they like we're dealing with individuals who are purposely pushing us in a certain direction, and they're trying to play it off like as if this is manifested instead of manufactured. When we can clearly, those of us who are intelligent enough to see it, we can see that it's manufactured, not manifested.
Crisis, I never had anything about you putting it all together. I'm not sure where that thought came from, but for the record, but
Oh, it might have been you. My bad.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, it's not a big
that
thing.
on.
It's not a big thing. I'm just for the record, but because I personally have no doubt as to how this all ties together.
No, I got you, bro. But that's what's happening right now. I don't think we're gonna go to war. But my bad, sister. Sister, go ahead.
I have
Sister,
a
you got it.
question. So I have a question, and it's a couple of questions first. So I don't know if, do we have any Hebrew speakers in the room? Because I'm kind of challenging your translation on that, in terms of the literal translation of the phrase and the function of the unit that it describes. So I'd like to know if we have any Hebrew speakers in the room who can help me with that part. And then, but my second thing is, how did you get from this idea of a devil's advocate unit whose job is to, the job of the unit is to challenge policy, to offer alternative perspectives, and to push the boundary of thinking around political policies and actions? How did you get from there to, if I can't have it, you can't have it? I missed something in that buildup. So can you clarify what that middle part is relative to Israel and its military moves? Thank you.
Right, you're talking about second base. So the devil's unit wasn't always something that was a generally known thing. However, the Samson option was a generally known thing.
The what option?
Samson.
SIP or SA?
Samson. You know like Samson, like the one from the Bible.
That's
Samson.
why I'm asking you how to spell it, because I'm not getting the vowel. Okay, Samson. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so what's the Samson op?
Okay, the Simpson option is a zero-sum game. That's where if their back's against the wall, they just use what they have. That's what the Samson option is. Now, somebody earlier today.
Okay, hold on. I just want to make sure I'm following. Sorry. So is this Samson option, is that like the unit where it exists? Because the unit you're describing, that's like from the 70s, right? In Israeli government. So this Samson option, is that a policy or is that somebody's explanation of practice? It's an official.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
I just put it in the chat.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure. I'm trying to discern.
No, I understand, sister. Like, I'm with you.
If that's an official policy or somebody's description of Israeli policy.
We gotta talk, bro. I learned about that in school.
Right, so they
What is going on? Wait a minute.
Hold on, Dr. AG.
Y'all don't play a lot. Okay.
Dr. AG, it's described as a policy.
Okay, it's described. That's what I'm trying to. And let me just say why I'm asking these questions, right? Because sometimes I know that political scientists and activists, they create like these phrases and names for things and they describe them and then they come into the popular conversation as if it's an actual policy, whereas it's a theoretical framework that someone's created to explain practice. So that's what I'm trying to discern, because the unit you're describing is an actual thing that the Israelis created after the Yom Kippur War. But I'm trying to find out if the Samson thing is an actual policy within the Israeli government, or is it somebody's political assessment of how the Israelis have been moving and operating? I'm trying to make that distinction.
It's not official. It's not. Israel won't tell you, yeah, we follow the Samson, like the Samson option is a thing, but they don't even admit to have nukes. But the Samson option is literally like if our backs up against the wall, everybody dies.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that
What
was
is that?
option.
What does back against the wall mean? Can you define it? That's a very vague statement.
Yeah. So
Hold on. I don't want y'all to derail. I do not want y'all to redirect y'all's focus to CEO, rightfully CEO, away from my question, which is very specific. And so thank you, CEO, for clarifying that statement doesn't make sense. Because if you are going, so it's like somebody's what is that? Yeah, I don't even understand what that even means.
Okay.
Go back in the chat.
I know. This is what you're not getting, sir. I know it comes from a book.
Okay.
What I'm asking you is, is that?
Yes, by all
I'm gonna just take a breath for a second. Hold on, let me take a breath for a second. Because my reading of it is, as a policy, right? There's no thing called the Samson option. What Hirsch is describing is how over time it appears that this is the method or the means or processing that the Israelis go through in making their military and political decisions, right?
Yeah.
And he has named it that. That's what I'm trying to get to.
No, he didn't name it that. This has been discussed and intelligence, like, this is a thing. Like, Israel's never admitted to having nukes. We don't know that they have nukes.
I don't want to go to the nuke conversation. That's something different.
The Samson Directive is literally about nukes. It's about, like, if it comes to, like, us not living and our enemies living, like, we will kill ourselves end all of them, and nobody lives. So it's not an official directive, just like the Hannibal directive.
It's a military doctrine.
Yeah, that's an military doctrine
Where
too.
is
But
this
the Hannibal,
Straight up a military doctrine.
come on, dude, chill out. The Hannibal directive is also not something that's official and not published as like official Israeli strategy. But we all see them implementing the Hannibal directive, willing to kill their own civilians, their own soldiers.
Okay, now
to
you're
prevent them
speaking.
from capture and being used against them.
Now you're speaking my point. You're speaking my point, and I know it's a subtle point that in conversations like this doesn't really matter. But you've given me what I wanted. Thank you.
If I can,
Alright, now I just wanna go ahead.
thought. It details the
No,
history of
wait,
Iran's.
I don't need it.
Okay, can I talk to other people in the room?
No, because the question was mine, and I asked it to a specific person, and I was looking for specific details, right?
Did you
And
get
I
the
don't.
answer you were looking for? It's Dr.
Yes,
AG?
I did. Yeah, I don't want it to go. I don't want it to go into some. I don't know where. I'm good.
Yeah, Dr. AG.
So then CEO wanted to follow up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Crisis.
No, I'm just saying, Dr. AG, if, as I put it in the chat as well, if that explanation doesn't give you what you're looking for, I have other articles as well.
Oh yeah, I know what it is. I just wanted to clarify that. I just wanted that clarification. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean,
And I do know, for the record, for people who don't like what's his name? Oh God, not a dude. The dude who wrote the book, Hirsch, right? He didn't go to Israel, but he did interview a former Israeli intelligence person, or somebody who said they worked for Israeli intelligence, like for the book. So, I mean, I knew that, but I just wanted that clarity. That's all.
now I just want
So sorry, CEO. Go.
Yeah, I just want the description of when this imperative would be used. So could you go ahead and describe that scenario?
What scenario? What are you talking
Can
about?
When you're going to operate the Samson initiative or whatever, that Samson option. When would the Samson option be used?
Young Kippur War.
No, there wasn't. It was used. What are we talking about?
No, they were going to use it at the Young.
Am I allowed to speak on it or no? Okay.
They didn't use it, so that's not a good one. So when would they use it? Go ahead.
Please
Any
stop.
situation where
Stop
Israel
interrupting.
does not end at the end of whatever happens, if Israel is not a state anymore, and it doesn't mean under nuclear threat, it means at any point like Egypt, Syria comes in, militarily takes over Israel. Israel's no longer a state. The Palestinians get their own state, become strong, and end up like moving to control the entire, like anything that is any situation where Israel does not exist at the end, everybody dies.
I'll take that long pause. I'm scared to
Wait a minute. Oh my God.
I don't know what my voice does.
Oh my God, guy. Quit interrupting. Jesus. Oh my God, you're exhausting.
Interrupting? Fuck.
Yes. He was explaining something. And how do you know CEO didn't have a follow-up? You just came right
Ask
in.
me to talk. That's
No,
how
I'm
I
good.
know.
Yeah, sweet. Go
Ask
ahead.
me to go.
He can go.
Okay,
Thank you.
God, Jesus.
Thank you. Good.
And shut up, James. Yes, I'm a woman, and I'm a well-read woman too. Don't play with me.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay.
sweet.
Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate you. And so, this idea that Israel would launch a massive nuclear retaliatory strike if the state itself is being overrun, just as the biblical figure Samson is said to have pushed apart the pillars of a Philistine temple, bringing down the roof and killing himself and thousands of Philistines who had gathered to see him humiliated.
That is a lazy explanation.
Well, I didn't want to. I'm sorry,
a
bro.
specific
I
example. Like the other guy at least was getting close. He
I
said
did
if
my
Egypt,
best.
and Syria took them over or whatever, right? Okay, like
I'm
so.
sorry I didn't meet your standard. I'm sorry, my internet is basic. I'm sorry.
All right, so let me, you're fine. So let me see if I can understand it. So in some scenario where I guess the U.S. is completely, has no ability to do anything. Yeah, decapitated. Thank you. Yeah. The U.S. and Europe is decapitated, and Egypt and Syria and Russia are taking over Israel. Then we'll use some nukes. Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, and it's not for the whole world. It's for the region that they're in. Basically, if they're not able to exist in that region, they're gonna make sure that the whole region is gone.
There's one more nuance to it, though. It's all involves signaling the nuclear threat as well. And that's where they used it in the 6-Day War and the Yom Kippur War.
But see, let me understand.
They had nukes then? What year was this?
Yeah, I mean,
What year was it? What was that, 67?
1967, yeah.
And they had nukes then?
When did Kennedy die?
So in Yom Kippur, they armed 13 nuclear warheads. So.
And real quick, LF, let Lonzo speak, because he just brought up a very good point about when did Kennedy die. Because Kennedy died because of the fact that Israel was trying to get a nuke,
Right.
and they had espionage their way into getting the information on how to build a nuke. So go ahead and let Lonzo cook.
I mean, a lot of people said that there was like a conspiracy, right, until that got declassified, and you saw, Israel all over that, right, or Israeli figures, names all over it. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is something there.
yeah,
The United States government is leaning that direction. I mean, who am I to say anything otherwise? Right?
It sounds like
Kennedy was pressing Israel
Also
to allow us to inspect their nuclear facilities, to like come on record about what they had, this and that, and they were adamantly against it. Ben Gurion, who was essentially like the dude who created Israel and all, like the first prime minister, that dude, he was forced to resign because Kennedy was saying like, look, we will withdraw all of our military, strategic, and financial support from you guys if you guys don't put yourselves on record, allow us to come in and inspect your nuclear facilities. You got to remember, Kennedy was like vehemently against nuclear proliferation, and he saw the problems that would create, so he was pressing them hardcore. Ben Gurion had to resign over that, and then the next guy came in, and that is by like all conspiracy theory accounts. Can't remember what the next prime minister was after him, but he was the guy who implemented like the kind of us against you Israeli strategy. Like we are really alone in this, and like we just need to use the U.S. to strategically to use the U.S. strategically in order to achieve our own supremacy and our own sovereignty over here, to not let us hold our help over their head. And then then from that comes the, Mossad, using the Mossad to infiltrate the U.S. and this and that, and Jack Ruby, the dude who shot, what's his name, after he killed Kennedy. That's where that whole conspiracy comes from, though. It's like people are basically saying it comes from Kennedy wanting them to give up their nukes.
What was Ben Gurion's full name?
I don't know, what was his first name?
Because the person that they're saying came after him was another Ben Gurion, but it was David.
Levi Eshkol was his name.
Levi Eshkol is the person who came after. Yeah.
So right.
So, one other thing about that Samsung option, correct me if I'm wrong, it targeted non-nuclear adversaries as well, right?
well,
Yeah, the Samson thing isn't like a response to a nuclear threat. Like, it's not like if nukes are used against us, we will use nukes. That's just like standard mutually assured destruction game. This is like if and dude was right. I think what's your name? crisis. He was right. It's not like the whole world dies. It's like, it's like the Palestinians and the Arabs. Like, if the Arabs allow us to be pushed out of here, then all the Arabs die with us.
And so, just one last question on that. What's the point of discussing it? I mean, it seems below 0.1% probability. So, what's the point of it?
It relates to what's going on right now. The next 2%.
No, it does not. Are you saying that Iran is going to be able to defeat Israel so decisively, the U.S. won't get involved, Europe won't get involved, they're just going to beat them so decisively and overrun them that we're going to have to use a nuke?
No, let me answer that. Let me answer all that emotion he just brought. What I am saying is that Israel is saying that Iran represents that to them. Are you clear, CEO? I'm not saying shit. I'm telling you that Israel is saying that Palestine and everything around them, especially now, Iran, is trying to remove them off the planet.
They always say that. They've been saying that for decades. There's no difference in rhetoric. What are we talking about? It's like me saying, I'm going to come out. Hold on, real quick, one thing. I'm going to come up with the Gemini option. So if Gemini comes to Delaware, body slams me, shoots me in the leg, then I'm going to drop kick him. Okay? What's the difference?
So look, like, I'll answer your question about like, could Israel really be defeated in a strategic way? Like, I don't know. I get that, right? And the Samson shit goes back to like the '60s and like their initial Middle Eastern conflicts, their rise to supremacy like in that area, right? Or their rise to permanency in that area. But what I see now, and this is just my take on it, is like, my thing has always been like, you guys are Eastern Europeans. Like, I was talking earlier, Netanyahu's name isn't Netanyahu, it's Milikowski. Like, all these people, like, they take these names to assume the identity of the Israel or the Jews that never left. Like, there are Jews who have lived there, Sephardic Jews that never left. And like, they are also the ones who like learned to live aside the Palestinians and who didn't have beef with the Arabs. This idea of like beefing with these people and whatever, this is like an Eastern European idea. And what I see is like, when you see Haifa is empty, Tel Aviv is empty, because as soon as the missiles start coming down, the flights start headed into New York and Florida and Jersey, right? Back to Europe, France. They start going back to where they're from. Like, so, when I see Palestinians getting bombed, I see them rallying. I see them like together, like fighting to unearth people and burying people together. And they're like one. They're like a battle-hardened people. And they've got a psyche about them that's like about resistance, and this is our home, and we are here, and we're gonna fight for this. When I see them, when the fucking Fatahs and the drones and all that shit start coming in, I see them eating each other. I see them kicking people out of shelters and mobbing each other, fighting to get into shelters and fighting. I see them in droves, 5,000-6,000 people at the sea, fighting to get on ferries to get out to cruise ships so they can come to Florida. Like, I don't see people that when the real hellfire starts coming down on Israel, that are going to be steadfast and like, this promised land and this is our land shit. Like, they don't believe that. That's a nice land that they've gotten and they would like to stay, but they are not willing to fight and die for it. They're not willing to be completely decimated as a population like the Palestinians, where the average age of a Palestinian is like 28. Like, Israel's not willing to go through that. And when the bullshit comes, if the bullshit comes, I just don't see them sticking around and fighting. I see them all running and fleeing, and I see the only people left as the extremist people, and I see the extremist people as the only people left willing to do some shit like kill everybody.
So
Here's the thing.
I think that wait one second. Nobody's fleeing Israel. The people that you saw sitting leaving Israel were tourists that left after the bombing started, right? So Israel's airport has been closed except for emergency flights for the past like week and a half or something.
But there's tens of
So
thousands
you see,
of
one
second.
Excuse me, 1 second. Yeah, there are some people who went to Cyprus, but those are emergency flights, and there are certain emergency flights that are allowed out.
And Haifa is empty right now.
Haifa and Tel Aviv are not empty right now.
They're
Haifa
essentially empty.
No, they are not essentially empty. I know people who live in Haifa and Tel Aviv. Nobody is going anywhere. None of the people that live there are going anywhere. And there's still tourists in Israel who have not gotten out, who are leaving on emergency flights as they allow them out. So, and no, the airport is not destroyed in Israel. They tried to attack it, but it was not destroyed. So I think you might want to check your sources, because I have on very good authority that people are not fleeing Israel.
I'm putting in the chat. I'm putting the video.
Yeah, you put a video in the
What does it matter? People are fleeing or not fleeing? What does it matter?
What we have here is like, Ron, you have some like anecdotal shit you believe, and I have some anecdotal shit I believe. But like the anecdotal shit I believe is like I said, watching them fight and eat each other to get into bomb shelters, not coming together. Watching them fight and eat each other, 5, 6, 7,000 people lined up on a beach, and lines a mile long of people coming onto the beach, fighting to get onto boats so they can go out to cruise ships and make it to Cyprus, so they can get on a plane to come back to New Jersey or wherever. So like, yeah, are they tourists? Are a lot of them tourists? I have no idea, right? Is Haifa empty? No, there are people left in Haifa. Is Tel Aviv empty? No, there are people in Tel Aviv. But has a vast majority of the civilian population gotten the fuck out of Haifa and gotten the fuck out of Tel Aviv? Absolutely. And so, like, anecdotally, if I'm watching Haifa empty out, air quotes empty out, Tel Aviv empty out, and I'm also seeing tens or thousands and thousands of people, upwards of like what to me visually looks like almost 10,000 people on a beach fighting each other to get on the ferries to go out to Cyprus. I'm going to say, like, people in Haifa are trying to get the fuck out of Israel. People in Tel Aviv are trying to get the fuck out of Israel. Like, that's just like anecdotal. But you're right, I have no solid proof.
Yeah, but why is this even hold on 1 second. Why is this even a debate? People want to leave places that are being bombed. How is this a revelation?
Yeah,
what is it?
I guess what I'm trying to say is, on the one hand, you see that the people in places like Palestine, right, that feel like this is their home, right? Many of these people feel like they're descendants from the people that was there even prior to any Jewish person in that area, right? These people could have easily left. For 2 years,
They could have easily left.
Yeah,
they could
easily leave.
Let Lonzo land.
Yeah, these people could have easily left. That was the whole thing, right? Unless Ron, you're gonna say it was a genocide and these people just had no other thing to do but just die, right? So the option was to leave and come back, right? Possibly, or to stay. And
no, that is not the option. Stop misrepresenting
Lonzo, I just have a question for you. Continue after this question. Are you saying that if the Palestinians had the same net worth and liquidity as the Israelis, they would still stay?
Wait, say that again?
I'm asking you, if the Palestinians had the same liquidity, the same net worth as the Israelis, would they still have stayed?
You talking about living or dying?
Liquidity, money, net worth.
Yeah, I know.
Cash.
I'm saying what's more than money or cash is living or dying, no?
No, I'm just saying if they had the money to leave.
The answer is no.
Right.
Yes. Listen. The fact is, right, what's greater than money is life, right? Because you can always get money back, right? Many thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of these people stay because they believe wholeheartedly that this is their home. Now, I'll put a few videos in the chat. I could put probably like 15 more, right, of different documentaries that are being made of these people calling everywhere else home aside from Israel. When when everything happens, right? When we're faced with either staying and dying on said quote unquote promised land, or that land, these people or many of these people are doing things like turning these bunkers to anti-Semitic bunkers, right? Because you're kicking your fellow sister and brethren out, leaving them to die. Many of these people are fleeing. In fact, they're fleeing so much. One of the heads of Israel, I forget what was her position. I'm sure Ron will be able to tell us. Said no, you can't leave. The only way you could leave if you're somebody on vacation. And we know other people that's lived there for years, and I have more documentaries, are saying, no, I'm getting out of here. This is crazy.
No, Lonzo.
More than just people vacation.
Yeah, can I
Lonzo,
respond to that?
check this out, Lonzo. So here's the crazy shit about what's going on right now with the people who are trying to flee.
Can I respond to that real quick?
You're real. I'm gonna keep it in 60 seconds. So to your point, Lonzo, you're right. And what you're finding now is you're finding that a lot of people who are not able to physically. There was a brother in here earlier who specifically, he was talking about how he's like Kurdish, right? And he said that he's not Kurdish in just the broader spectrum. He knows exactly what village he's from and all of that. He has 14 generations buried on the same land. The only person who's not buried on that same land is his father. So these people don't have any inclination of wanting to leave that land. They're going to stay there regardless of how hard it gets. So I understand what you're saying, because the ones who feel like that's their land, they're not going to try to leave.
That man was not Kurdish, though, man. He was Palestinian. His father, he said his father's family was from. He said his father's family was from Naples and his mother's family was from Haifa, and then they ended up in Jordan after, like, I guess 1967 or something like this. But anyway, as far as
when they got ethnically cleansed,
yeah, he was not Kurdish. No, the ethnic cleansing that you're talking about was happened in 1948. Thank you very much.
I'm sure it was.
This is the way you probably not. It was in 1967. 1967 happened because there was
got stolen.
Come on,
there was a war.
Conclude this thought, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll give him the grace.
Yeah, so the issue with the people who leave and who don't want to leave in Palestine, which I don't think you can point to on the map, are people in Gaza, right? There are two border walls: the border wall between Israel and Gaza, and the border wall between Egypt and Gaza. The issue is Israel allowing them to go in. Israel can determine who is a Hamas combatant or who is a normal citizen of Gaza, and Egypt doesn't want to allow the citizens of Gaza who want to leave. Many people want to leave. You can see videos of those, right? You can see people saying, "I want to leave." They won't let us leave. People are trying to escape because Egypt doesn't want to take them in as a refugee crisis, or at least let them step right across the border, the innocent people, into the Sinai Peninsula. Why? Partially because they're afraid that if they do, that the people who are Hamas supporters that are amongst them will join them, the Islamic Brotherhood or Islamic Jihad, one of those terrorist groups, and that will create a bigger problem. is that people do want to leave. They, unfortunately, the people in Gaza cannot currently leave.
Or
Okay, hold on. Let me run Lonzo. Let me just
give me 1 second, brother. Or, right, could it be that Israel, I mean, places like Egypt knows, and Egypt is taking so many of them in, because of different stages of this ethnic cleansing that's been taking, place since 48. Or could it just be because they realize if Egypt takes all of them in, these people would never have a home to come back to. And they know the tricks. They know the play. No different than all the homes, the lands that people lived on for centuries.
So
right? And they can't return back to those places either.
So this is my
speculation.
This goes along.
No, this is a fact. There's been too many documentaries saying
It's a fact.
So many documents
yeah.
speculation.
What was that famous model? What was her name? Hadid. Yeah, like she literally.
Bella Hadid.
Bella Hadid. When she literally said that she took some Israelis and some Jewish people in their home. She came back one day. They came back, and then they found out that they were getting kicked out of that same home that they actually took those Jewish people into to begin with, their families' home.
Yeah, that's
Things like
bullshit.
that happen all the time.
Because this story is not true. I've never.
Or the video
I've looked for
different New Yorkers that come to take.
I've looked for books. I've looked for articles. I've looked for any record.
Or that New Yorker that took birthright, right? Or one of the New Yorkers.
This story is bullshit.
Said no. Hold on, bud. Yeah, that New Yorker that took birthright and said, no, I'm not stealing your home. This is my home. I need your home.
Ron.
Oh, you're talking about the front dude. You're talking about the front dude.
Hold on. Let me, Ron. This is the thing, and it goes to what Christ has said, right? About 14 generations and whatnot. Of course, if a bomb is falling on somebody's head, you'd have to be a pretty down-ass dude to just stand there and say, I'm not leaving my house. But we have seen that. We've seen that in the Iraqi occupation and whatnot. People refusing to leave their homes because this is my home and you're not going to force me anywhere, and dying because of it. So that is a thing in a war-hardened society, a society where resistance is part of the psyche, the DNA of the people. So, of course, people will relocate to get themselves away from imminent death, but some people won't, and the people that won't are the people who have resistance built into them. How do you get resistance built into somebody? If any population would have that built into them, I think it would be the population whose average age is 28, where their entire family has been wiped out, and they vowed vengeance and vowed resistance against the people who have murdered generations of their family for the last 75 something years. If the question is are you telling me if Palestinians had money they wouldn't leave? Well, some people would leave and they would come back. To me, that's why the two-state solution is unacceptable to Israel, because as soon as there is a valid Palestinian state that the entire international community recognizes, do you know how many Palestinians from all over the globe that have been displaced will return home? That's what they're scared of. To them, the existence of a Palestinian state, means the annihilation of Israel as an entity, because the claim to the land is so fucking strong. And it's not a delusional claim to the land. It's dude said, 14 generations of my people are from here, and I can point to you the valley that they're all buried in, and this and that. It's that. Yeah, people are going to run from bombs, but not everybody's going to run from bombs. But certainly, right, we've seen how these people have conducted themselves just over the last 2 years in this onslaught that they're experiencing, right? And I haven't seen a single video of Palestinians fighting each other. not a single instance of not even one Palestinian. But like you would think crime doesn't exist in Palestine. Gaza. You would think crime doesn't even exist over there. The way these people fellowship and take care of each other. But one day, like 1 week, missiles start raining on the Israelis, and they are going fucking crazy.
So
They're going fucking
quick
crazy.
question. Well, hold on. Quick question, Stephanie. What percentage of Palestinians do you think would leave if they could?
Probably the ones who have left.
Well, so there was a survey that said 31% wish they could leave.
Okay. I mean, I won't go against that.
Wait, tell me. Let's get this clear. Let's get this clear too, CEO. When was that survey taken?
It was taken after October 7th.
Yeah, and are you aware that since October 7th, things like electricity and water and food was used
It was weaponized.
Yeah,
Of
so
course.
these things. Wait, and this goes for anybody, right? Because we understand that these things were also used against Jewish people during the Holocaust, right? Food and water were weaponized, right? So is it plausible that somebody that's starving, you can get them to say, yeah, I want to leave because I want to eat?
Of course, but that's bombs in Tel Aviv. Like, I don't want to stay. I'm gonna bounce. Like, I would bounce if I was there.
Do you realize that what you're admitting to right now?
And yet so many of them are staying.
Yeah, and CEO, but would you eat your neighbors alive trying to get out? That's that's at least what I'm talking about.
What is going on with this cannibalism? Like, what's
I'm sorry, my bad.
It's not actually happening.
Would you fight your neighbors to get out? Would you drag your neighbors and throw them behind you and take their spot? Like, would you do that in order to get out?
Sydney, can I say something real quick, please?
This is crazy.
If you understand 70 AD, you will absolutely fight your neighbor to get out. Because in 70 AD, the same shit happened. They surrounded the city, created a moat, and made it so that nobody could leave. And those who tried to leave were killed. And those who were in the city had to die from either starvation, malnourishment, whatever. So at the end of the day,
I'm not.
That's not what I'm trying to say to you, brother. I'm actually agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that the notion that Palestinians wouldn't leave if they're being faced with what Loso just said is ridiculous. Because at the end of the day, you still want to live. Notice the first thing that Loso said when he was asked that question is he said, "Are you asking me to decide between living and dying?" And Loso, please tell me if I'm lying on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, is that what you said, Loso?
I think he's saying Lonzo.
Is that what you said?
Lonzo, I think.
Oh, Lonzo, my bad. But is that what you said? When they asked you the question, you said, "Are you asking me the difference between living and dying?" Because nobody's gonna choose to die.
That's not true, bro. They would rather die than be persecuted. That's not true.
Especially if they have children. They're not gonna just choose to starve to death and stay where they are.
Okay.
Well, they don't have a mindset like you. They don't think like you, bro.
Okay, great. All right, so, because this is, respectfully, this is like all over the place, and I don't know what the thesis is. So, maybe this might help. Live update from the New York Times. U.S. moves bombers as Iran and Israel exchange strikes. Several U.S. Air Force B-2 bombers appeared to have taken off from a base in the United States and were headed across the Pacific as President Trump was scheduled to meet at the White House with his national security team on Saturday evening to discuss joining Israel's attacks on Iranian nuclear sites. Air traffic control communications showed the B-2 aircraft, which can carry the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs Mr. Trump is considering dropping on Iran's Fordo underground nuclear facility, taking off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. The destination of the planes was not clear, though one air traffic control message suggested they were en route to a U.S. airbase on Guam. Moving planes does not mean the president has made a decision to strike. It is not unusual to shift military assets into position to provide options, even if they are not ultimately deployed. It is also possible the U.S. purposely allowed the public to know about the movement to pressure Iran to come to the negotiating table. Okay. Thoughts?
Dr. AG, you know what's happening? You know what we've learned in the last 2 weeks? In the last 2 weeks, we've learned that Iran has the ability to penetrate the quote-unquote Iron Dome. We've learned that in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
At the same time,
What's that got to do with her comments?
But this is what
I say focus.
Hold on, crisis. Thank you, CEO. I want to just directly focus on the breaking news updated 3 minutes ago that the U.S. has moved these B-2 bombers. What are our thoughts on that? And if we could do that without going back to the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s,
I'm definitely not talking about the
yes, if we could do that, okay, let me get to a period, sir. Menopause notwithstanding. If we could do that without going back in time, that would be great. Thank you.
So I would like to know, Dr. AG, that started a year ago under both U.S. Air Force. If you look up U.S. Air Force Task Force 21, it's a new program under the U.S. Air Force, right, to have airborne task forces, right? So they started flying Air Force bombers, B-52s, right, and the new prototypes from Louisiana and Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, last year to Guam, right? So this is a continuation of that. That was one of the first things that Trump did when he got into office, right? He started relocating about a dozen new B-52s to Guam. So the issue they are discussing, right, and so I posted in the back chat these stories about him considering nukes. So what they're discussing is whether they were armed, right, with these bunker busters or these low-yield tactical nukes.
I'm sorry, so your sense is that this is part of an ongoing strategic exercise that may not be related to this specific Israeli-Iranian conflict? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
To my understanding,
Okay.
every 6 weeks they send them down, but they send an extra amount of bombers with this deployment.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
My thought is that even if that's the case, my thought is, what does Iran think about it? Because if we know about it, I'm sure they have enough intel to know about that movement as well. So I doubt seriously they're not looking at it as an escalation of that, okay, the U.S. is going to do this. And I think anybody would do, if you think that your house is about to be ran through or whatever.
Let me just get clarity before you go with the analogies. And I don't know, you guys, y'all need to work on the metaphors, but what do I know? But let me just say, so you're saying that the Iranians, that they will see this as a continuation of the exercise, or that they will see it as something new and threatening? I wasn't clear on that.
Okay.
That it was not clear.
Let me make it clear. I'm sure they've heard about this 2-week notice that Trump gave. And then after that, now, a couple of days ago he did that, so now they're learning today that what we just heard about that information, that movement to Guam, which is a lot closer wherever. So they're moving these bombers, B-1 bombers it sounds like, over to Guam. So my thought is, and none of us know, so we're all just throwing ideas out there. My thought is that Iran sees that, and I doubt seriously that they think that's not an aggressive move. That it's just to be intimidated and, oh my God, now Iran is going to say, they should back up now. I think they're preemptively thinking now, okay, they're getting in position, because if they do that, even if they don't destroy with the first bomber, they don't destroy the capacity, it's going to have a pretty big effect on the psyche and the actual physical reality in Iran, over there, wherever that port, was it Porto, whatever that base is. I'm thinking they probably have some things up their sleeve that they probably are going to do, you know, knowing that, hey, maybe America's real serious about acting on this. So they're going to play some cards. And I would discuss, I don't know what they are, but they're going to do something.
Yeah, I mean, there is some, I just want to share some reporting on it. I can share some reporting.
Theo, give me 1 second before you get a reporting. I'm going to be very brief. What they sent over is 6 B-2 spirits, right? Not B-1s, sweet. And those are the only ones that are capable of carrying the bunker busters, right? And then they sent the supporting cast, refuelers, and everything else, right? With that being said, whether it's part of an ongoing transition that's already been happening or not, it definitely indicates that we're sending the specific planes that are capable of executing the only mission at hand. It looks like we're positioning for war, no matter how you put it. Like, anybody else interpreting that differently, I would be surprised.
So this is so here is there's some reporting on this from the Atlantic. Iran bets Trump will blink first. Iranian leaders think they've cracked the Trump code. Lots of threats, zero follow through. His unconditional surrender post makes headlines, but his real move was to kick the decision down the road with a signature 2 weeks delay. Tehran's gamble, Trump talks tough, but when the trigger's in reach, he flinches. That is their thinking, according to the Atlantic.
That sounds very true to the TACO acronym. You're familiar with TACO, right?
No, I'm not.
Trump always chickens out, right? And that's what the world has been saying. They're calling him TACO for that reason. And what you said aligns with that.
So my take is like similar to what the other cats said about, like, as soon as Trump got into office, he started. Hold on for a second. Wouldn't that be like a smart thing, though? I mean, just...
Okay, so let's not derail on Trump's psychographics. Let's kind of like focus.
No, that would just definitely be a smart idea, right?
Yeah, we
Nuclear
just...
war is just, that is stupid, right? That's very psychotic. Right? So I think anybody toying with nuclear consequences is a fucking maniac.
So when Trump first got into office, he started stacking up strategic bombers on Diego Garcia, which is in Guam. He sent a similar amount of B-2s.
No, Diego Garcia is in the Mediterranean, Guam is in the Pacific.
Is it?
Excuse me. They're not the same.
Okay, well, so he sent B-2s.
I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you, CEO. They're not the same installation.
He sent B-2s to Diego Garcia when he first got into office. You're saying Diego Garcia is in the Indian Ocean?
Yes.
Guam is in the Indian Ocean, is it not?
Pacific.
Anyway, Guam is in the Pacific. Okay. Anyway, he sent B-2s to Diego Garcia as soon as he got into office. With the kind of story was that, like, he can touch the Middle East. Like that, he puts them there, he can touch the Middle East. So I don't think, like, sending B-2s over is, like, something that was needed to be done to be able to drop that massive ordnance penetrator, right? Like, I think that we already had the assets over there that we needed to drop that. And I don't even think that that's, like, signaling to the American people, like, willingness to drop it on Iran or on Fordow or whatever. I think it's just a great story that the media picked up. You see the B-2s taking off, and you're like, oh, Trump going over there to, join the war with Iran. I also don't think the U.S. gives zero fucks about stopping Iran's nuclear enrichment program. I mean, to me, that's evidenced by the last, literally 40 years where we've allowed them to enrich at will, basically. I think that this is stacking up to basically degrade their ability to launch missiles and touch Israel. We found out in the last 2 weeks or so that the Iron Dome is not useful against these attacks. The Arrow 3, they've got 3 tiers of kind of anti-missile defense, and Iran has shown that they can penetrate all 3 tiers of that. I think that this is literally just to help Israel, because the main majority of Israel's strikes are not on nuclear facilities. They're targeting the launchers and the sites that these hypersonic missiles and drone launches and whatnot come from. I think we're just going over there, and if there's any strikes, like, probably we'll hit Fordow. But that'll be like 1% of like what we do, if you ask me. 99% of what we'll actually be doing over there is helping Israel degrade Iran's ability to launch these missile barrages.
Dr. AG, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's I don't really know how to read it. I think it could be as simple as quote saber rattling, but I think it could also be something that exacerbates tensions. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't really decided how I think about it yet.
No, I think that's right. It's saber rattling until it isn't anymore, right? I think that's what it was.
Because I can't help but, like, I'm a pragmatist, right? So I can't help but think, okay, if the U.S. engages in any direct way, you have two big guys, quote unquote, teaming up against a little guy. And is that little guy gonna call their friends, like, help me? And what are the friends' reactions gonna be? And then what are the consequences of that? Like, this just seems like it has the ability to get out of control rather quickly if we're not micro strategic about our engagement.
Well,
being the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most practical way of that playing out is that if Iran asked Russia for weaponry, right, and our stuff's being used on them right now by Ukraine, and that's not considered us being at war with Russia. So Russia very well may say they do the same thing with Iran. So I think that's totally a practical.
Actually, Russia did say that the other day.
Right, yeah. So Russia has troops already inside of Iran, right? They don't actually have formal military bases inside the country, but they do have their strategic bombers, right, positioned at the various military airports run by the Iranian IRGC or what have you. So I just wanted to make a distinction, but then y'all can get off of it or whatever, move on. Sydney was partially correct, right? That's been a new development in the last 12 hours out of DC. They are moving bombers as well to Diego Garcia. So this is dualistic positioning in the Indian Ocean as well as the Pacific Ocean. There are, Defense Group, which is a website of people who work for the federal government, who track federal government actions, military, civilian. They are publishing, right, with pictures of the specific nuclear strategic bombers that left Minot out of South Dakota, right, Air Force Base, and Louisiana, as opposed to just the strategic bombers, right, heading to Diego. And I'll post those links in the back.
As far as like escalation goes, I mean, I heard reports, this was like several days ago, of cargo plane 747 cargo planes that left China with Luxembourg as their destination. Then as soon as they got about 100 miles from the Iranian border, they turned their transponders off. Also hearing reports that Pakistan is sending shipments of ballistic missiles, like their versions of the hypersonic missiles, the Shaheen or something. They're sending those over. And the story that, well, the specific story that I read was that it's looking like, because Iran sites are these mobile launch sites. So they're having these mobile launchers destroyed, but apparently Pakistan is replenishing them with these mobile launchers quicker than the Israelis can destroy them. And so the United States estimated that as far as these hypersonic missile capabilities, Iran only had about 1,000 to 2,000 of these. And the intensity with which they're sending these things over to Israel, they're having to completely rethink that. Either they're getting replenished quicker than they can shoot them, or they had way more than we thought they had from the start. So now estimates are saying they have upwards of 10,000 of these hypersonic missiles, or a ballistic and hypersonic missile mix. So, yeah, I think Pakistan definitely got Iran's back. China seems to have Iran's back. Russia and Iran seem to have signed some kind of 20-year mutual defense treaty very recently. I also know that Putin released a statement that says, we have thousands of nuclear scientists in Iran and they're not going anywhere. So it's kind of really gearing up to be potentially the kind of conflict everybody thinks it's going to be.
So when you're talking about the Chinese hypersonic, are you talking about those DF whatever things that they have?
I don't know about.
Is that what you mean?
I don't know, and nobody knows what was on
the ones that they tested 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, because that's kind of the thing is China. That's kind of the thing that made me scratch my head recently, was finding out that we were way behind in the hypersonic missile game.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently China and Iran are the preeminent hypersonic missile manufacturers, and they do it domestically. So people are coming to Iran for hypersonic missile technology, and Iran is selling their hypersonic missiles on the international weapons market and whatnot. So they're big players. And we've seen in the last couple weeks, or the last week at least, their shit is no joke. Those things move. And the thing that's so dope about them is that all they got to do is just tweak their glide path. That's what makes them so deadly, is that they're traveling so fast that when these David anti-ballistic missile systems and the Arrow 3, they've come up with a firing solution, and they only have a limited amount of fuel to reach their intercept point. And so they're launched with a specific firing solution based on the glide path that they see this vehicle taking. And all the missile has to do is tweak its path slightly by a few degrees, and then 2 minutes later, tweak it another few degrees, and it's they've escaped interception. These things are moving at Mach 14, insanely fast. And, if you get your firing solution wrong, or, if the glide vehicle alters its path, your interceptor just can't touch it after that. So.
Yeah, I read about that in, I think it was National Security Journal a couple months ago. They were talking about, I didn't know they were Mark 14. I thought they were 7 or 8, but, well.
They range depending on the warhead that's attached to them, or the weight of the warhead. But the Fatah 1, at least, which is supposed to be the older version that people technically don't classify it as hypersonic because it's in question what its ability to actually change course and its glide path actually is. But the Fatah 2 definitely is hypersonic. People say they were launching the Fatah 1 in order to deplete the Iron Dome munition supplies, and then following that up with the more advanced ones that they could get through. But I'm gambling now. The Fatah 2 up to Mach 14. And China has gangster anti-ship missiles designed specifically to take out carrier group assets and whatnot that are reported up to have speeds up to Mach 27. So insanely fast weapons.
I guess the next thing we should look for is if the U.S. sends THAAD or Patriots to Guam, because that would mean they're expecting something from China. That's like our best defense against.
Yeah, they're trying to move like two of their big boys to the South China Sea recently.
I know they just pulled the Nimitz out of the South China Sea to head to the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
But that thing is like a bucket of rust. It's so fucking old. So, I also know the U.S. did just develop an upgrade to their, I think it's like their JDAM, their 2,000-pound JDAM, which is like a guidance package that allows them to, and these JDAMs are like $200,000 a piece, and I think this is kind of like where we're trying to focus our weapons capability in the future, is to get away from these like $20 million munitions, $10 million munitions. So they've upgraded the JDAM to be basically a ship killer now. So you can drop them from extreme height, 40, 50,000 feet, guide them down where they don't drop on the deck of the ship. They drop right next to it, penetrate 50 feet below water and explode there. And that's supposed to be like guaranteed ship kill every time, not just like a burning ship you have to send back to port, but like sunk. So I heard that in a Popular Mechanics article recently, and the defense establishment is supposed to be really happy about this as a counter to China and their buildup of like naval assets and whatever out there in the Pacific.
I feel like the hypersonics are the answer now to those big crafts, right? Those big vessels at sea. Those are just basically sitting ducks, because there's nothing to stop those things. So if you get your position, tight enough, they'll cut right through like butter.
And I mean, another thing that doesn't look good for the U.S. is as soon as those hypersonic missiles started landing in Tel Aviv and Haifa, we actually backed up all of our assets that are in the Persian Gulf and in that region. We actually backed them up outside of what we think their known range is to prevent them from touching us. Like previously, up until that point, our ships were positioned where they thought was a safe distance. And so they've actually extended their distance away from Iran in order to get away from what they now know is like the new actual effective range of those weapons. Not saying that they won't push in closer or whatever if it comes time to like fight, but before they do, they're definitely going to try to, like I said, what I believe their actual goal is to eliminate their ability to launch these missiles, not to hit nuclear facilities.
Did y'all hear where Bill Clinton was talking about? Bibi was like 2 votes shy of getting reelected or impeachment or something like that, and that's when he launched that last attack.
I did see Clinton say that. Yes, Clinton's theory is that he did this to stay in power, and a lot of people think that, but it's very powerful that a former president came out and said that publicly.
So these things aren't conspiracy theories and big heads of states and presidents that's had relationship with this guy for decades. He knows what it is. I'm just curious about like why so many Americans are kind of like late to that that way of thinking. This guy wants to stay in power. This guy is, literally fighting fraud charges right now. He's a criminal. This guy is literally a criminal, and I hope Trump doesn't take his path, because if you're a wartime president, you got to stay in there. There is a way that you could stay in there. That's kind of interesting.
Well, the thing you have to be mindful about Clinton is he's older and he just doesn't care anymore. So he's saying something that probably no one else at his level would say publicly.
It's funny, the caption I saw in that video was like something like, it's funny what you're willing to say when you know the Epstein files got erased.
I'm sure somebody has copies.
Oh yeah, they got the Epstein file. We're just not going to release it for 50 years. They're going to wait till everybody dies, right? So that's all. It's just going to be the same thing as the JFK files.
Also, hey, happy Saturday. I've been in and out of the conversations. But there's a podcast with Bill Clinton, and he's on his wife's podcast, and he talks about Israel, the conflict during his presidency, and a little bit of the history. And I found it interesting. But I was in and out.
What did he say? What did he say?
I don't remember, honestly. I have to listen to it again.
I'll put it in the chat. I think I got it.
You asleep? Yeah. What up, First Lady?
I just came.
What up, Fred?
I was trying to figure out what y'all was talking about.
I was lost in the
Hey,
I was lost in the sauce of, that was now.
So, Patty, I had just read the announcement from the New York Times that the U.S. was repositioning B-2 bombers to Guam. That's what I read, and that's what we were talking about. And then we got off into the technology, who has hypersonics, how we defend against hypersonics, that kind of thing. Glad you're...
Patty, is that photo of you in Iran gathering some intelligence for us?
I mean, it makes sense to pre-position them in Guam because we have pre-positioned a warehouse there. We pre-positioned, we're trying to pre-position ammo in Micronesian islands. And they're probably pre-positioning it just in case something things go wrong. So it makes sense for them to put it in Guam. That's where we have a smaller warehouse. It's a very small warehouse. And we were trying to use it for the Indo-PACOM area so it'd be quicker to get supplies. So yeah, it makes sense.
Does anybody have any thoughts on, like I heard some Israeli defense minister saying that they've got something planned coming up real soon that'll make that beeper shit look like daycare.
They did it earlier today.
What was it?
Yesterday, where they sent an emergency meeting for a lot of the top missile builders or scientists. They all met in a disclosed area, and when they did, they sent like a crazy ass bomb to kill all of them.
Oh shit!
Terrorism.
See, I've been talking to y'all all day and hadn't been in the news and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Iranians that are on like Telegram chats. And, yeah, that's where they're talking. And there's definitely allegedly, they said there's going to be some big responses. And I think one of the Mossad leaders died today. Maybe coincidence? But there's been like a bunch of targeted attacks at a lot of these people's homes. And apparently he died. If there's any Israelis in the room. thing too, man. There's a lot of engineers and scientists in Iran, men and women. I mean, that's impressive how a lot of these scientists get killed, and there's one after the other that's like waiting for the opportunity to take, to take lead.
Yeah, I saw an interview. It was titled like the last interview that top Iranian nuclear scientist had done before he got assassinated. And in that video, he was basically saying like, we don't do anything anymore. Like we've trained up so many scientists and engineers and whatnot that like now we don't even do anything. Like it's them who are in control. Like they basically like they got this now. Like I'm retired, so I don't even know how.
Yeah, I remember that.
How true that is or whatever. But
I believe it.
The gist was like, yeah.
It was like a huge convention. I want to say a few months ago, where like some professors from different European countries were, at like a missile, like a showcase that Iran had, basically saying, listen, we have so many different ones. These are a lot of our old ones, our old technology. They were showing a bunch of hypersonic missiles. So they're ready.
I can't even understand nothing. You got a lot of noise in the background. Or is that me?
No, my fault. It's called. It's like 96 degrees. These Teslas a lot of shit.
Hello?
XRP is down.
What's XRP?
Everything is down. Gemini, what are you talking about?
Token.
Everything is down.
What do you mean?
He's talking about cryptocurrency.
Why is it down?
War.
Yeah.
War makes an unstable market. An unstable market creates
Because of that recent shipment to Guam.
volatility, and that means you lose money temporarily, at least.
Sometimes great time to buy stocks.
Yeah, you can look at it as a Black Friday. I just don't like looking at my portfolio right now.
Don't look at it.
I do. I log in, I log out. I don't trade because I already know.
Hey,
Sit on it.
Yo, ride for the long haul. Just look at it, right, First Lady? That's right.
There's nothing bad to look. It's bad when you sell and take that loss for real.
How's everyone doing this lovely Saturday?
Doing good, son. Doing good. How are you, son?
Good. I just left this food festival.
Oh, really? How was that?
It was nice. I ran into one of my good friends. I happened to walk in it, and what do I see? I see her and her son. So it's funny because I don't know a lot of people here, but I've known her since I was 15 years old. And she moved here 12 years ago. I moved here 3 years ago. And we happened to be at the same place at the same time. And I was shocked because she never comes to Brooklyn. So just another little coinky dink. And she's here with her whole family. They're here from England, or I'm sorry, Spain and Florida, because her son is graduating on Monday.
Then it's not being, that's the world's
Yeah.
algorithm. It's the world's
Yeah. So her son, Javis, is super handsome. I'm gonna go see them tomorrow. Anyways, we had planned to do a barbecue for his graduation. So really excited about him. He's such a good kid. Man, she raised this man all by herself. Well, with her family. But he turned out to be such a good kid. And so, yeah.
Is that your dad
Fun
in your
times.
PRs then?
That's my pops, yes.
That's dope.
Yeah. So, thank you. So yeah, another New York moment. Ah. Weather's great. Went to Trader Joe's, picked up some stuff. Now I'm headed home. Was in and out of this Israel-Iran conversation all day, but I was mostly out of it. So I'm gonna stay out of it. I'm gonna continue to stay out of it. But if anyone has some good recommendations for books, podcasts, drop them in the chat. I am trying to learn more about the situation. But yeah, I'm not liking what I'm hearing today. It sounds like we're inching closer to continuing this war. So.
Sin, so did you forget you're on Clubhouse? You don't have to be knowledgeable to talk about something?
Oh, you're right. Yeah. You're right. I do have a PhD in Israeli studies, if that's impresses anyone. A Clubhouse PhD.
I have a Clubhouse PhD too. Look at my name.
Yep. What's the Gemini plan again? Go in there, fuck shit up. Is that what CEO said?
No, the Gemini plan was if Gemini ever comes to Delaware, body slams me and shoots me in the leg, then I will drop kick him.
Okay. But you'd be shot and on the floor, so.
I was trying to understand how he's going to body slam me after he was...
I was trying to say something as nonsensical as the whole Samson option. Yeah, I did that on purpose, you know?
All right.
You know, since we're not talking politics right now, I'll ask y'all this to get a woman's point of view real quick. Because my daughter and I were having a debate, and she's telling me because I have a penis, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And we were debating in regards to...
Correct.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
That's sexist.
That's also correct.
But we were talking about a lady that unfortunately passed while her baby was, I think, only 2 months, and then they forced the family to take care of the baby, and they kept her alive as an incubator. And she's totally against it. She feels like it's exploitation of a woman, and that that there's a racial element involved, right? That basically they're kind of experimenting on her, and then forcing the family to take the bill. Which that aspect I get, the bill part. But I was thinking, and I can't speak as a woman obviously, but I was thinking if I was a woman, hypothetically, I would want my baby to live even if I couldn't, right? And I kind of agreed with the medical staff from that viewpoint, aside from the billing portion. So that was the debate.
Well, hold on, because it's not agreeing with the medical staff or disagreeing with them. There's a law in place, an anti-abortion law, that prevented the medical staff from quote unquote pulling the plug, which was the family's wishes. So I don't think the medical staff didn't really get into the ethical debate of it. It was more so they were trying to follow the law. It was considered they would have gotten sued under the abortion law had they pulled the plug.
No, I'm familiar with that portion, Sin. I guess let me rephrase my question. Do you agree with the law would be a better way to phrase the question? Do you think that that's right for them to keep her alive?
I do not. I don't think that. I think she's dead already. So the only thing kept alive is with the kings, right? Because of modern day science, she's kept alive. The mom's dead, the child dies with her, so it's not necessarily an abortion. So that's my sort of gripe with this, is that it's not that, I don't think my ethics necessarily even comes in the picture. Scientifically, the only reason she's kept alive is with modern day medicine. So this is a modern day problem. So it's like, to me, I don't even get into the ethics of it. To me, the mom's dead, the child would follow.
I'm so sorry. Can I understand the issue? Can someone explain the issue to me?
I'll try. So this woman was 9 weeks pregnant, and she went into a coma, and she was pronounced brain dead. And the mother, and I think at the time that the child's father, but don't quote me on that part.
The child's father also, you're right. Keep going.
Yeah, okay. Wanted her to be removed from the life support, but the hospital said because of the law, I think this was in Georgia, because of the law in Georgia, that would constitute an abortion because the baby would also die. Because at that time there was a fetal heartbeat. And so the debate was around the hospital's decision to keep this woman alive so that she could incubate the baby until the baby had reached a point of viability where it could live outside of the mother. So, of course, one line of argument is keeping the baby alive, it's preserving life. The other side of the argument is that the woman was not allowed any sort of autonomy in that instance, I guess is the word, right?
Well, what autonomy could she have?
Hold on. You asked for the explanation. Let me give it. That because the child depended upon the mother, it was the argument that Sin articulated. If the mother dies, the child dies, right? And forcing her to live under those conditions was inhumane. That was the argument.
Okay, but I just have a question. It's just a question.
Hold on.
Oh, I thought she was.
No, because I initially came off the mic because Jim and I asked for a woman's perspective and I was going to give mine. So my perspective is I am of divided conscience on this because I don't like this notion of women being forced to give birth, right? Because in instances like this, it is the immediate family who make a decision about whether or not to continue life-sustaining measures, right? And so that was removed from this family. My other thought on it, which is related to that one, is this is a lesson for us, particularly women, childbearing women, but everybody maybe, to create living wills and DNRs so that you can have your will, your wishes respected. But as Sin pointed out, this is also a conflict in the law because it takes that decision away from the woman. So even in the instance that this woman was alive and the baby was quote unquote threatening her life, right? There's no guarantee that she would be allowed, as we have seen in cases in both Texas and Georgia, to terminate this pregnancy because of these heartbeat laws. So I think there are a couple of issues that this case brings to light. So Gemini, that would be what I would say.
So there's an underlying issue here, though, that I just wanted to ask you about, Dr. H. How do we know the woman wouldn't have wanted the kid to continue on? Like, I don't know how we're getting into her autonomy. Yeah, that's my point. It's a 50-50, right? So how does her autonomy come into?
CEO, this is
but
what
the
I
thing
was
is that usually in these circumstances, it's the living relative, right? So the next of kin makes the decision on behalf of their relative. So you become the voice or the spokesperson for that person. And inherent in that is the assumption, sometimes false, that there have been conversations around this. So if it were my sister, I would know like what my sister's wishes are. So they come to me and they say, what do you want to do about this? I contemplate it, I talk to Jesus, and then I make a decision. So the debate is less around the woman's autonomy than it is around an institution deciding to take extra measures to sustain her life, not for the chance that she's going to get better, right, and have an improved quality of life, but solely for the purposes of keeping a child alive.
CEO, look, she was very excited about having that baby. Very. She's a nurse, right? She already had a 6-year-old daughter, right? And she was going around trying to get medical attention because she was having, I think it was headaches prior to that.
Correct.
Right? So she was definitely excited about it. So in my opinion, from what I know of her, right, the limited things I do know of her, it would align with her being willing to still try to conceive if she's not there. And I also, and this is the point where my daughter said I was being insensitive, because she already knows I'm very pro-women's rights. I raised her to be the same, right? But this is where her pushback was. I don't think it caused any trauma to her or that she was put through anything, because she's literally brain dead. She doesn't feel or think. She's not there anymore. Her spirit has departed. You know what I mean?
But
So,
what about
Well, the only difference to that though would be, I'm sorry, Patty.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only counter to that is the reason they performed the emergency C-section was because she started having difficulties. She's gurgling and having issues, and so they performed the emergency C-section. And I honestly don't know that we know enough about the brain to know when people stop experiencing pain. Never come back with us, right? So it's something that's it's an ambiguity in science as well. So, I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, Patty.
Said, what about possible trauma to the fetus? The thing is, everybody want to save a baby, but they don't know what. No, who's gonna take care of the baby, or like what, like your oxygen levels, are they lower? Like, does it affect the baby's brain? Does it affect its development? Like, they're saying that it's healthy, but they're also saying other things too. You know what I'm saying?
they monitor. One thing I do know is they monitor the oxygen levels. That's easily monitorable, right? They know that for sure. But for me, what would be deeper is the baby experiences everything that a mom experiences, right? Her emotions, what she eats, like everything that mom experiences translates to the baby. So I was wondering how that would impact her, because you're dealing with a mom that's not emotionally connected to the baby, that's not nurturing the baby, that's not interacting with other people in the way that a normal person would. So the baby's not hearing or experiencing any of those elements and it makes me wonder if there will be any developmental issues later on that the baby would experience from that.
I mean, I still think that Dr. AG made the most salient point, which is who's making the call, right? If someone in my family had this situation befall them, knock on wood, it's an obvious tragedy, and my family said, let her go, and the hospital said, no, we've decided against that because, some whatever reason, whether it's law or some liability thing or something, I would be livid. And I think I'd be absolutely right to be livid. Mexicans should absolutely make this tragic, horrific decision. It should not be a matter for the state or a hospital or anyone else to decide on something like that. Especially when we're not talking about a in the moment judgment call. We're talking about a long, what was it, months? That they kept her on life support?
Months, yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's crazy. That has to be the family's call. It has to be. Anything else is completely inhumane. We could have a deeper ethical conversation after that. If you were the family member, what would be the right choice to make? And that's hard and complex, and it's not like there's a lot of history of it because modern medicine is the only thing making this possible. But to me, that initial question is very, very plain, and I don't think we can get past that without agreeing on that.
I think that's because with Roe v. Wade being overturned, that puts it back into the state's power to be able to make that decision, and they determined once they were able to locate a heartbeat on that baby that this would be technically air quotes in an abortion if they were to terminate her life and take her off of life support. So I get what you're saying. Who makes the decision? And even more so after that, who foots the bill? And even more so after that, who cares for the baby? Because you forced a life, now you forced a breathing bill onto somebody, and gave them. That has to be. It has to be a significant cost associated with them caring for her this long for months on end. So that part doesn't feel fair at all.
But that's in line with the anti-abortion quote unquote philosophy, right? The value or the quality of life is considered in fetal personhood, but once that person exists out in the world, there's no concern for maintaining any sort of general standard quality of life, right? We don't support children. We don't provide women who are, for whatever reason, not capable of on their own sustaining maternity, right? Which isn't just pregnancy, but maternity, the nurturing and caring for and mothering of a child. All the systems to support women are constantly being underfunded and minimized. So we're saying to women, keep these children, birth these children, but we're not offering them any sustained support to raise these human beings in any kind of humanitarian system of life support, right? So, I think these laws are consistent with that. Babies matter until they're born, institutionally and legally speaking.
That makes sense. I don't think they're going to keep the family on hook for the bill, from what I understand, though. I don't think they're going to be on hook for the bill. However, I think they are going to be the primary caregiver.
Yeah, and God forbid, as Patty was mentioning. Oh, sorry.
They are going to have to pay the bill.
Are they? Because what they're saying private insurance, and that her family is unlikely in Medicaid.
So is the baby insured?
No, the mother's insurance. The mother's insurance initially. They said that's what they're going after.
Right.
What'd you say, Patty?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. You were breaking up at the end just now.
Your insurance doesn't recognize the baby till it's born, right? And then is there what are the additional fees that they're gonna have to pay? Because I don't know how civilian insurance goes, but I know some people say they have a cap, right? I don't know.
But there's also for some insurance companies, I'm not sure of the time, but there's a period of time where the child gets onto the health insurance in the event that, when the child is born, that there are issues, then the mother and the child are covered. I can't remember exactly, because the insurance that I have, it works like that. And I don't know if I can't remember if it's like what is it, 38? I don't know if it's like 38 weeks. I can't
Your
remember.
baby could be born at 38 weeks.
Yeah, so
I don't understand the
I can't remember if it's like 36 or 38, where then the child gets written onto the coverage.
As soon as the child is born, it's automatically covered under the
Right. Yeah,
No,
when
but I
it's
think
born.
it is 36 that you're talking about because so premature wouldn't count, and then 36 and up, or is it 37 and up?
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember because in the insurance that we have at my job, they had that. So when you're pregnant.
Sorry.
So when you're pregnant.
We're talking about the lady that carried the baby.
Yes.
Right, we're talking about that. So I thought when you die,
Wait a minute. Hold on for a minute, Sin. So, firstly, what I'm talking about is, because I had to navigate this, and I can't, it's been a really long time, so I can't remember. But there is a period before the birth of the child where you put the unborn baby gets covered by the insurance, because then it protects the child for birth complications. But I don't remember the exact weekage.
Well, when I used to
when
pay
that
claims,
happens.
when I used to pay claims and adjust claims, the child is considered still part of the mother until the child is born. Once the child is born, then the insurance automatically kicks in. Anything prior to the birth of the child is all covered as the mother. So,
but if the mother is declared dead, wasn't she declared dead?
See, that's the part that I was trying to get to. Where's that statistic? Or where those details? Was she actually claimed as dead, or were they still keeping her alive?
They were keeping her. They were keeping her alive, but the conversation came up because when that happened, it was 9 weeks, and so, from my memory, that would have been outside of the time for the coverage. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's like it depends on what your insurance coverage is and how your policy is written, how that works. But I do specifically remember that from our first insurance policy. I just don't remember the time.
Let me dumb my question down a little bit and make it more direct. If you ladies I don't mean dumb it down as in, I overshot my point is what I'm trying to say, right? Let me ask it this way. If it were you ladies and you were deemed brain dead at 9 weeks, would you want the child to still be born, or would you want it to die? That's what I'm trying to ask.
I would have wanted what God wanted. If I'm dead, the child's supposed to go with me. Period.
Yeah, don't keep me alive.
I third that.
And fourth.
Wow.
I get what you're saying. I guess in your eyes, you're like, okay, I'm already dead. Why would I want my kid to be dead?
Right.
That's how you think of it.
Right.
Yeah. And you're entitled to think that way. Many women will think that way. There's probably a percentage of women
I've heard
that
a lot
will
of
think
women
that
say the
way.
opposite of what y'all said. I've heard a lot.
Yeah, and I agree with that, right? Because people don't have the same mind. However, because, I'm a sci-fi person and I think towards the future, what if I decided, I wanted to donate my organs, right? And what if one day someone decides you can donate to be a carrier? So there's a scenario that people could just keep women's bodies alive just to produce children.
Yeah,
How do you feel about that?
I don't like that. But look, let me explain to you this way, right? And it's not going to be the same. And let me just preface my statement with that, right? If it's me and my child, and I know that I have to go for that child to live, or I'm going to go anyway and keep me alive indefinitely so the child can live. It wouldn't even be a question. There's nothing to talk about. Like, keep me alive so the child can live.
But I think that depends on what your moral and ethical principle is, right? And everybody has a different grounding. So, like First Lady said, there's a reason why women are given the primary responsibility for bearing children. And in considering that as a sort of the religious imperative around that, right? The nurture is my responsibility, and if for some reason I'm unable to fulfill that responsibility, then it ends, right? Like, that's just one perspective, right? But I think, how do I want to say? I think the idea that this being exists inside of a woman's body, and that the woman does that labor, I think it orients women to think about it in different ways. It doesn't mean that all women are going to agree, but that experience of carrying this life positions a woman to feel a particular way about it. So in the same way that women differ on their decisions to have children, right? I think women will differ on this. So
Dr. E.G., let me go ahead and read some of the issues that this is some of the real world impact on her cases. So during the pregnancy, the fetus developed hydrocephalitis. Syphilitis, okay. Right now there's future neurological and physical development that is going to be a problem, that could possibly be a problem for their baby. During the months that she was on life support, she had infections, metabolic changes, and hormone failures.
And hydrocephalitis for people.
Isn't it crazy that both come with this
literally like
hydrocephalitis. England for Gina's graduation.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't think she knows she's
on. Yeah, so Melissa, her mom.
Okay, so hydrocephalitis is water on the brain.
Right, so remember they were talking about that. I think it was this month too.
I'm very familiar with that.
It directly illustrates the medical, ethical, and logistical obstacles. So there is an actual study of women that were women that this has happened to before, right? So 35 cases, but this was during the third trimester. And of the 35 cases, only 12 of these children survive.
So are you finished with the statistics?
Yep.
I think the details matter. Usually I'm not into the details, but she's 9 weeks, which means that this embryo is very, very, very small, which means that the body itself has to do a lot to continuously form this. At this point, the forming of this embryo, or the continuation of it, is all manufactured. It's not of God. And it's something different, like if she was, 21 weeks, you know, you got a lot more parts, and then it's like, okay, all we got to do is keep giving her oxygen and things. It really disturbs me at the 9 week period of time. This lady should have been way well gone, and the impact that it also had on that family. To see your child who was never going to come back still living here as if it was a machine. Just that thought alone is just weird to me. If a woman was in a car accident and they're able to get the child out and put the child inside an incubator, absolutely keep that child, do whatever you need to do to keep the child alive. But at 9 weeks, they couldn't even take the child out because the embryo wasn't even completely, informed yet. So that's why it's just like really kind of difficult for me to say in this particular essence within the details that keeping that baby alive was something of good.
And what Patty described a little bit ago, I didn't know, right? I didn't know it was born with those complications. And I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm very familiar with that specific complication. They will never lead a normal life, even if they live, and most don't live.
Yeah, and currently that baby has had, they said, so what it's saying is the brain hemorrhages. I guess the baby's name is Chance. So reported in Chance's case have been brain hemorrhages. They've been dealing with respiratory distress because of the lungs being undeveloped. They said this is going to be a longer than regular NICU stay because of some of the developmental delays in the organs and maturity. It's not even mature for up to the weeks that it should be.
Let me move the goalposts just a little bit, right? So if the baby, let's say it was 5 months, right? Which means it's a lot more developed than 9 weeks, right? Would y'all still have the same sentiment as far as not letting it see it through? Let's say 6 months.
So that's why I brought up the cases that said there was 35 cases. There were 35 cases. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the chat. They said there was 35 cases where, and they were in their 3rd trimester. And only 12 of those children survived.
That reminds me of, as a breeder, right? And this is going to sound weird because I'm about to compare children to dogs, but I'm going to do it. There are certain times when the mother gives birth and she nudges the baby to the side. And as a breeder, I've been breeding for a long time. I know not to try to save that pup and spend a ton of money at the vet because it's going to have some internal developments or underdevelopment that I can't see, but the mom senses. So it's not even worth saving at that point, as bad as that sounds, right? And it kind of sounds like that's what you guys were saying, like it's already going to be so many issues that it's not worth seeing it all the way through just for that element alone, because it's not going to live a normal, healthy human life.
My thing is simply getting in the way of what God planned. If I was supposed to die, I was supposed to die, and the baby's supposed to die with me. Period. Like, you manufacturing something in a lab and then keeping this baby alive. The baby was born like at, what is it? I forgot. 1 pound or something like that.
1 pound.
Yeah, like, come on. I just think that's just, I don't know. I don't see the humanity in it. It just seems more like a science project. Let's see how we can stretch this. Let's see if we can really make it baby and all that.
I'm glad my daughter cannot hear y'all right now because she'd be on my head right now.
Yeah, this is an experiment.
Gemini, we started out by saying that she was right already.
No,
so.
I